Yeah.
we go.
There we go.
You say it's like riding a bike or throwing a frisbee. I don't know. I feel a little rusty. It's been a minute. As the kids say, it's been a minute.
Yeah. Well, jump right back into things. Welcome to Drop the Check with winemaker Robbie Meyer. Today's special guest is grapevine Bud Wood, who recently moved from Napa to Atlanta and is now starting a family in a neighborhood of cabbages. What will his young grapes be like growing up in the dirty South? We also meet Robbie's new dog, Mando. And of course, there's always Topo Chico. Let's get into it right now.
Hey, I think it's a testament to all our hard work that we can, from the hip, get it loaded up that quick.
It's like that.
Do I sound okay? My sounds good?
Just sound great. Oh, by the way, you don't hear anything. I had to tinker with my mic cable, which is funny to me. It's not like, like you just said, we have to remember stuff and do things. Or Rusty, what's wrong with a microphone cable that is just sitting over there? What's his problem? What's his excuse?
I think we must have talked about this before, but when same thing that I haven't been doing our band practice, and we'd have everything dialed in, just hit the power button off, walk away, come back in a week, click start, and everything had to be redone again.
Always.
Not redone, but it's like it was just sitting there. All we did was hit power off, But these things happen.
These things happen. Such is life.
Such is life. But
okay.
It's a gorgeous day out here. Or is it raining there? I can't see over your shoulder.
Cloudy rain. I try to make it seem like it's sunny over here.
That's lovely here, and I get a great. This may be an old cliched thing, but I got a text from my son Will Meyer today, and he was taking a picture of the beautiful blue skies up in Seattle, Washington, and he said, "It's a great day to have a great day."
By the way, we can run with that.
Is that our new tagline?
Run with that. It's a great day to have a great day, but every day should be a great day to have a great day. And on what we had started talking about, that these little anomalies are things that are like, shit, why did that just happen? Those type of things that happen.
Yeah.
I'm trying to practice, Bob, on a daily, every day going, okay, that just happened, and that seems like unfortunate in the moment, but maybe if I take just a like you just said, just take a minute, which maybe that minute is a second to go, now wait a minute, that seems spontaneously right now, instantaneously, if you will, like it's problematic. It may be leading me to something a little bit better. Okay.
I like the spin of that attitude.
Okay. I'll give you an example. Something happened today. I am supposed to go to a parent weekend. Not supposed to. I bought my, hotel tickets and everything in Savannah, which is the 26th of April. My student daughter sends me a, "Hey, dude, what's up? Parent weekend is this weekend, not the 26th."
No.
And
How
I
did
go,
that happen?
Exactly. How did that happen? Well, I immediately, and she sends me a little poster that says, whatever, this weekend, whatever the date is, 13th or whatever. Like, what? I bought tickets. They're for the 26th. What are you talking about? Hotels and everything. I look back through my email, and my email is for parent alumni, the 26th. Get what this is. This is marketing. It is SCAD Day parent weekend, but these are the parents they want to really put on their best for, because they're prospective parents. This is when they'll ship in the food from the Savannah restaurants to the student cafeteria.
Right.
They've already got me, so we don't want you guys to show up and take up all the space, and anytime you may have had your parent complaint, you'll come next weekend, right? But so in that moment, here's where we're going with this, that moment that she tells me this, and I'm like, what the hell's going on? I'm looking at my email or whatever, and all the emails that I get from SCAD, I have, which is hilarious. I have the one from earlier this week, It doesn't even have like this weekend is an invisible date on the calendar to me. I don't, it doesn't even happen. We don't want you to show up. But I do notice in that additional scholarships that are
Oh,
available. That, by the
okay.
way, I hadn't even looked that far into that email. I'm
Yeah.
looking hard to
Yeah.
find this date, and I find that, and guess what? I think Fiona is eligible based upon what these are, her
Yeah.
GPA,
Yeah.
certain things. And I'm like, I would not have seen that had
Mm.
I not had this moment of like, what the hell's going on?
This is your explanation of sometimes a perceived difficulty in life leads to a opportunity in
There
life.
you have it. That was
Okay,
it.
I can subscribe to that. I feel like I live that on the daily.
Mm-hmm.
But it's you have to present that. I mean, it's all in observation.
Yeah.
We like the people who say there's no such thing as luck, right? Because you're putting yourself in the position to receive that quote unquote luck.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this could be you're in the moment, all of that. You're there. I mean, what has happened a second ago it's already back here in the past, right? And
Yeah.
you're into right now every sliding doors, what have you.
Well, what were
So,
we? What were we talking about a couple of months ago that caused us to say, "Oh yeah, I've got some budwood in the backyard that you gave me that we picked up in the vineyard that I didn't even recall." What brought that about? I don't even remember what we were talking about.
see, I can't. I think what it was I don't know if we were going down the path that if we were actually even talking about growing or just
Oh, I
the
think I know what we were talking about. We were talking about conditions, and you were like, "Why can't you have a vineyard in Georgia?" I think that was something like what it was, and I was like, "Well, you
listen.
can." And you said, "I got some of your plants growing in my backyard," and I was like, "I don't remember that."
Hell, I don't even know if I had said growing at that point in time because
You
again,
had,
by the way, let me pause this for 1 second to say this is funny that when we say we're on the path of like every little thing that pops up, that you bringing that up
yeah,
and going back to that
yeah,
thing that we were talking about, like what you said, it sparked my memory to go, oh, that's right. When I'm out in Napa, you hand me a little budwood stick
yep,
from we're standing in one of your vineyards.
yep.
Hear this. And was I not skeptical? You
Yes, you
said,
were.
you can stick this into the ground. No, it won't. It'll grow. No, it won't. I can't even take it back. Right? I'm going to take it back. It looks like a damn Harry Potter wand. Cut it
So you
up.
so you pulled it out of the dirt that you
Yes.
had put it in the dirt like I told you, and you
Mm-hmm.
pulled it out a couple months later, and you said, by golly, it really does have roots that have grown out of what was thought to be a dead dry stick, and all of a sudden there's roots
It,
growing out the
it
bottom.
had roots.
And
I
then
I stand corrected to you saying it will grow. Roots are in it.
now let me ask you this though. So then you
Yeah.
replanted it and
Yes, I
and
did.
and have done your best job. I challenge that even when you put it in the ground, you were skeptical that the buds were going to push.
You see, now you're using fancy words like push. I'm like
That the
this
buds were
damn
going
thing.
to break,
Not
that the
push.
buds are going to
Oh
pop.
my God! Now you even got another thing. This damn thing gonna grow. Well, yeah, it's got whatever. It's got these little tiny little roots coming off of it.
Yeah.
It's got. By the way, there's a couple of them. So look, like we've got one that's going.
Yeah.
One's
That's
our
that's
strong guy,
that's the one advertised as his first name Bud, second name Wood.
Bud Wood. And so for all of our listening audience out there that would love to hear this, Bud Wood was on one part of the yard, one side of the yard
Yes.
that's really crowded. The fact that Bud Wood could stick his little neck up and, nothing's coming out of the top, pushing roots, as you would say.
Mm-hmm.
Pushing Bud.
Pushing buds.
Roots were coming down. I'm pulling out just to show you. See this? There's a bunch of dumbass sticks are sticking in the ground. Roots.
Yeah.
We go, now, wait a minute. Now we need to, like the Jeffersons, move on up to a better place neighborhood.
Yeah.
So Bud goes to the other side of the yard where there's a little bit more clearing and where we had put in some nice planting soil as was advised for the neighborhood development.
Yeah, well, we wanted to make sure that it wasn't like hard Georgia clay that it was
Right.
growing in.
There you have it. So I put some soil down there. I will also state that some other things were being planted at the same time. Some pesky cabbages. See what they do. They're in the neighborhood. They're not too
Yeah.
well. Listen, I'm about to say they're not too close by, but some maybe are close by.
Well, there's nothing wrong with them being close by.
Okay,
I mean,
but
close-ish by. You know, it's just like in the vineyards that we have. You know, you have, especially this time of year in the spring, you know, you've got cover crop growing. You know,
yeah.
right up to the vines, and right now we're currently here at April, whatever it is. We've mowed through that cover crop, and we're cleaning out within the vine rows, and given the plants a little bit of space now so that they're not being there's not a competition between them and the ground cover or other plants growing there. But it's not like a cabbage could be touching it and it won't like harm it, or shouldn't cause it like any pest issues or things like that. It's just at some point you don't want the competition. But if it's a foot away or 5 feet away or 10 feet, that doesn't have any consequence really.
So to give the status of Mr. Budwood, who is living in proximity to our cabbages, which everyone in the new neighborhood seems to be doing pretty well. Everybody's growing up. Mr. Cabbage family's doing okay. Bud Wood has a
Leaves.
couple little leaves growing on it.
Yeah. From
Exciting.
multiple different buds.
Multiple different buds are growing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking about California grape vines growing in Atlanta, Georgia right now.
Yes, we are. Yeah. Yeah.
Got a little pole that they can grow
Train
up.
up.
We're
We're going to train it up. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's exciting. And so we're still waiting through the spring, and we talked about, maybe trimming that up a little bit. But there's no rush. We're going to wait on that. We want to make sure we get through the spring. I know it's not likely to frost there in Georgia, but we just want to make sure that nothing happens to the shoots that are, or the buds that have pushed and are growing, and nothing happens to those leaves should we want one of the other buds to push out. And we'll see if they do, on their own. We're just going to kind of play it out, but we're not in any rush, we're away. But our next step is going to be our shoot growth. Those little leaves are going to grow and grow, and you're going to have your shoots. And then the next major event is going to be when we see the little potential cluster primordia come out.
Okay, hang on. Let's back this up so we can have a timeline.
Okay.
Because let's even back up from the beginning of the timeline. I was out there, let's say, from the moment that Bud Wood went from a Napa vineyard, a stick that was clipped, if I'm correct,
Pruned.
and you correct me, pruned. Was Bud Wood, you pruned it from the vine in Napa Valley. You cut it off.
That's right. And
August.
And what was pruned away was a lignified, dormant stick of wood that had grown the previous year, so that when we cut it, it was its own bud earlier in the year, or the previous spring.
Okay.
So in the spring it pushed out just like buds doing this year, and it grew throughout the year, and then it went dormant, and then it was pruned away.
Okay, so to clarify, just if for myself, where I'm there in August, we're talking about this past August 2024, correct?
I believe so.
That's
can't
when
remember.
It was. I think that's when it was. Just so we can start figuring out the timing looking forward. That's when Snip, you hand me Bud Wood. Bud Wood gets packed up in a suitcase, airplane, comes back to Atlanta. At that point in time, let's say that's end of August, I jam it into the ground, into what would be the, north side of my yard, thinking it's not going to grow. A couple months ago, I
Yeah.
pull it out. We find the roots.
Yep.
It gets relocated. I stick it into the ground. Now, here we are in April, the beginning of April. So let's say the very end of March is the first time we saw bud and
Yep.
leaves. What are you going to say? Like the timeline is
Well,
forward.
that's what I also for the previous timeline. Not to so I don't want to confuse people. We just happened to. I think we just saw a stick lying on the ground when we were walking through the vineyard.
Okay.
Typically, we would prune
Mm-hmm.
a dormant vine, let's say January 1st.
Okay.
And typically you would take all of that budwood. You have a big, bunch of sticks from pruning,
Mm-hmm.
and you take them, collect them, put them in a big bunch. And generally speaking, you put that into cold storage.
Mm-hmm.
And then later in the spring or, sometime going forward, they can keep in cold storage for a while before they're throwing out any roots or anything. They'll just look like that little stick there. And when you're ready, then you can, graft it onto a rootstock or something like that. But that's our modern day viticulture, the way of doing things. You have a dormant stick that was just aged out in the vineyard. It was, not treated like we normally would, but that's what I was saying, how hardy these plants are, that you could take it, not grafting it onto any other rootstock or any other plant, and just take that stick, and you're doing your own version of cold storage as you're putting it into the ground. That groundwater and moisture and conditions are going to stimulate the plant to throw out its roots. So I knew the roots would be coming out. They're slowly growing throughout the winter, and would be getting ready as the soil's warming up. To start to throw it and push its own buds out and come out of the ground. But I said, let's do this a different way, and we dug up that stick and moved it to a different part of the yard, and so now we're training it on its own roots. So you can say bud break is it's different for every varietal, and it's different for every vineyard and all over the world. But where you are, we can say it's a springtime event. It's just like the leaves coming onto a tree. So
Mm-hmm.
April 1st, that sound fair enough, or March 15th. I
Sure.
think it was the end of March,
So we
beginning of
see when
April.
I saw that first little bud, and now we have. They would look about the size of like a clover leaf, or the size. They're a little bit bigger. Like I
Now
say,
they're
about
bigger,
a
right? Now they're
quarter.
like
They're
half
like
dollar sizes, aren't they?
they're getting there.
Okay.
They're between a $50. Yes, about a $50 size.
Yeah. And you'll be astounded. I'm looking out my window. As you know, I've got the just landscaping grapevine hanging over my, whatever you call that, pergola. And we had our bud break as well. And it's pushing. And it's shocking because, like, I'll walk by one day and you have the tiny little leaves. And
Mm-hmm.
I'll go back and it's really warm today. It's gonna start growing like crazy, like
Mm.
like ivy would grow there in the south. It grows so fast. It's astonishing.
Yeah. So because of the neighborhood that I'm in, and
Yeah,
there is a bunch of ivy there.
yeah,
There's ivy. There's like an English ivy. There's
yeah,
vines. There's all kind
yeah,
of competing things that are
yeah,
like our friend Budwood that are in that area.
yeah.
Who are these guys? They're all like fighting for it, or do we have some bit of like we're gonna like lean in and try to live together and help each other out? Like one vine's gonna climb up the next. What have you?
Well, this is like what we talk about training, and this is ultimately the sense of viticulture. This is what you're doing is farming. It's hand manipulation on its own, and we see this like all around the valley because grape seeds move on and the natural process happens, and you see grapevines growing in the oddest places that have just been transported naturally over time, and they're growing just like weeds. I mean, they are. The definition of a weed is just an unwanted plant,
Mm-hmm.
and so they're very hardy and they'll grow. However, so then it's your viticultural desires on how you want to train these plants to have no competition around it, so they get all the energy, or you want it to grow up a tree like wisteria. I mean, it's going to do whatever you want it to do, and if you don't do anything, it's going to just take its own course. It
Right.
wants to search for water and sunlight.
Okay. Ultimately, though, what we're going to have here, hopefully, is fruit.
Yes. So this is where I will be very curious to see what happens. This is effectively a new plant, right? Because it's
Yes.
been cut off the old plant, and we call this, what you are having right now, first leaf
Okay.
in the life of this plant. So, and even though that clipping is older, we're calling this a first year vine, or the way we refer to it as first leaf.
Hmm.
And sometimes you'll have a little cluster go out, but generally speaking, it's second and even third year or third leaf until you start to get clusters.
Oh man.
I didn't want to let the wind out of your sails. And hey,
Oh.
you know what? There's a chance, Mike. There's a
Okay.
chance.
Yeah. I mean, I was figured I was going to be, this time next year, I was going to be bottling. Yeah.
You
Come
know
on.
what? You sound exactly like a vineyard owner.
Yeah.
That's the whole time. Okay, so we're gonna be making wine this point next year, and I was like, you're not gonna have grapes for 4 years. Like even though the first time you do get grapes,
Yeah.
like in a vineyard,
Hmm.
it's usually so sparsely given, and really the plant can't really support that fruit. So we usually, like in that third leaf, if there's some fruit, we just drop it on the ground, and then it's usually the fourth leaf where we start to have production for winemaking.
Now, why is that? I mean, just the age of the vine of like growing up, and he can
Yeah,
do it like your kid
yeah,
growing up. Like, well,
exactly.
what is it?
It's just like uh, don't want to be inappropriate, but it's like, it takes time for your testicles to drop.
Yeah. Okay.
I've got my new
Uh,
puppy we can talk about, but it takes
okay.
some time for that. So it's just the plant developing its whole internal physiology, and so it'll take some, and that's why it is a maybe. Like there is a chance that the plant's telling itself to go ahead and throw out a cluster, but it's don't be surprised if you see nothing this year. What all you care about is that little baby getting fat and healthy,
Yeah.
and growing up, and we'll see we'll learn to walk next year.
Does it need to have like friends in the neighborhood? Like I already said before, you got the two other sticks, right?
Yes, we'll
You
see
got
what
the
they
two
do.
other sticks. They're showing nothing. Like our bud wood, which this opens up a whole lot of other questions that like you corrected me.
Yeah,
I could not remember if you clipped it off like a big,
yeah,
healthy. This is a stick. He's a little arm. I cut you off and I'm going to
yeah,
replant you.
yeah,
We found him on the ground. Okay, that one stick was cut into several sticks that like the other guys they're doing nothing.
yeah,
Maybe they're doing something,
yeah,
but they show no leaves, no
yeah.
bud push, no
So,
any of this type of
yeah,
stuff. They're
so,
just they're neighbors on either side of you. What are
yeah,
you guys doing? What are
yeah,
you guys doing over here?
yeah,
Bud Wood, he's in the center going, ha ha, look at
yeah.
my leaves, I'm growing.
Well, you said to me privately, but I
Mm,
appreciate. I hope no one takes offense to this, but it's a good analogy. It was like it looked like what's it? Mount Sinai,
yeah.
where Jesus
Mm-hmm.
was on the cross,
Yeah.
and there's
The
the
other dude,
three of
yeah.
them up there, and you have them set up like the mount there, and in the middle
Yeah.
is the I'm trying to choose my words sensitively.
Yeah.
Jesus, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
say.
You got the Messiah, bro. The
You got the
Messiah's
Messiah.
in.
That's a great word that I'm looking
Yeah.
for.
You got
And
Bud
so,
Wood.
and guess what? He was resurrected. The other two weren't.
Yeah. Who you
So
got?
maybe that's going to be the complete analogy here.
Maybe.
That's the only one. What's funny, and I was laughing to myself a second ago, not about that analogy, but that like um, my own skepticism and whatever. So we're walking around the vineyard, and you pick up this stick,
Yeah.
and it had different branches off of it. So you have your primary shoot when the plant's growing, and you'll see this as it grows. You'll get laterals, and those are little shoots that go off of the sides of it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, Bud Wood, he has a lignified lateral that's coming off of the left of the
He
main chute,
does. Yes, he does.
and there's a little bud on the laterals too, and that bud has pushed and it's growing out there. But if we were doing that, collecting all this material to have our big stack of budwood and put it into cold storage and graft it later the way we do it, we would trim that piece up prior to collecting it. So if there were laterals on it at that time, we would cut it off. And I sheepishly, I saw what you picked up, and I was like, Mike, you can just throw that in the ground, it'll grow a vine. And you're like, really? I honestly at that time thought, well, he's never going to do this. So
Okay.
I didn't even look
Trust me.
at helping you trim it
Yeah,
back.
right.
I think you just put it there, and then you
Stuck
get back
it in
to
the ground,
Atlanta
right,
and you go,
literally.
so do I cut the, whatever. And I, again, even at that time, I was like, well, Mike's not really going to do this. And so I probably should have explained things better at that time. But see, this shows you without any knowledge, you can take these sticks and throw them in the ground and you'll get a plant.
Yeah. I mean, look, I'm already almost a major winemaker.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
On this that you said, we've got the Messiah,
Yeah,
Bud Wood.
Bud Wood.
Okay. I mean, for all of our, I mean, I know that you are a master winemaker, but I don't know what a religious scholar you are. What's the other two guys' names?
I think it was Peter and Paul or Ringo.
Right. Okay, my point is being made. We know that Bud Wood. I mean, in fact, we should have shirts right now, like Bud Wood. Show like Bud Wood and the three little crosses on Mount Sinai. Bud Wood. Okay, what's the names of our other guy? Is it like Ed Wood and Ron Wood? Because somebody's gonna pop up. Like somebody's gonna be just hanging back. Bud Wood, like his little offshoot that's growing.
I like that offshoot. Like offset.
Yeah,
this is offshoot.
Well, hang on. Bud Wood's the guy that has an offshoot. He's got his little hand that he's lifting up, going, ah.
He does look like that. Like, see, he
does.
Messiah.
What's up? Look what I got. He's bragging to the other guys. I got leaves on the top of me.
But I feel bad because we're gonna cut that off.
No, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about that now. I think. I mean,
Okay, well, I'll have to pine on what the other two names are of those guys, but no. Maybe we can have a call and a write in, a comment on Instagram about who can name the.
Hey, that's great. That's a great call. We'll have somebody who's going to name these guys for us.
Yeah.
Or girls, whatever I don't know. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway.
You know what it's time for? It's time for a Topo Chico break. Hey friends, Mike Anderson here for Drop the Check. Have you ever had the perfect bubble? I mean, what is the perfect bubble? Is it that one that you got from stuffing 6 wads of gum in your mouth next to the baseball field? Or maybe the ones that you blew for your kid's 2nd birthday party? For me, it's probably the one that I stick over my head when someone asks me to be on a Zoom call. But if you really want the perfect bubble, try Topo Chico. Topo Chico is the best sparkling water because the bubbles are perfect. And if there's ever a collaboration between Topo Chico and Pearson Meyer Wines, perfection times 2. Topo Chico, the bubbles are perfect.
It's so funny because I don't know if this will make it to camera, but I have actually lemonade today.
What?
I had Topo Chico earlier, I swear to God, but it is this sunny. It might even get up to like 80 degrees today, and I'm happy. My dog is behind me taking a nap, and I was like, I'm gonna have a little lemonade. It sounded delicious on a day like today.
You mix it with Topo Chico, though,
I
right?
know. I know. Admittedly, since I put you on the spot about various things, I put myself on the spot. But I just recently, I think as of last night, finished a 12-pack of Topo Chico. And, I like them in the glass bottles. And I like them in that 12-pack thing. And I got a single bottle at the store today, this morning. But I don't have a 12-pack in my refrigerator. I'm sorry.
Well,
sorry.
So it's known. There's a little dinner engagement that I have right after this. You
Yeah,
know what I am bringing to it?
Topo Chico.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
That's what I just bring
That
something. Okay, I'm not going to bring just something. I'm going to bring something.
exactly. Well, I mean, we've said it before, but um, one, I love just like walking around town and, people like, hey, when's the next, podcast coming out or whatever. I was at a Del Dotto event over the
Hmm.
weekend,
Yeah.
and one of their customer clients, he was talking to me, and he was like, it was a man and his daughter, and he was like, hey, guess what? I listened to your podcast the other day. And I was like, did you hear the Del Dotto one? He's like, yeah, it was fantastic. And, just a stranger that I would never, I mean, that I would not otherwise know comes up and it's like, hey, like the podcast, that's a lot of fun. And
Oh,
then,
that's great.
and then how many people will, just like people send me pictures of their wine, of my wine, rather, when they have a glass, people are now sending me texts of pictures of Topo Chico everywhere.
Man, that is fantastic. Well, keep those coming in. We need to see folks Topo Chico. We need their suggestions for the
Yes.
names
Yeah.
of, Ed Wood, Ron Wood, who's it?
Oh,
The Wizard of Westwood, the guys on the side,
well,
on the side of Bud Wood.
Well, I mean, I think that maybe even how when we started talking about Bud Wood, I was mentioning my friend who is the I don't know the official title, but the groundskeeper, the field master for the Oakland A's,
Yes.
and his name is Clay Wood,
Okay.
which is the perfect name for a guy who has that skill set. Clay
That's
Wood.
great.
So we could
Clay
name in honor of Clay Wood. We could name one Clay Wood, and he's growing in Georgia Clay.
growing, yeah, well, growing.
Well,
That's the only thing. Like everyone, that might be the most popular episode that everyone sends in their names for these two duds that
yes.
don't grow. As Bud Wood is in the center, taunting them with his outreached arms.
Yeah.
Okay, I have something to discuss. It's a new topic and very exciting for you, and it will be for a segment
Okay.
of our fans, listeners, because people love what I'm about to bring up, and this is this:
Yeah.
when you bring a new puppy home.
Yeah.
Okay, so you guys know our resident winemaker extraordinaire expert is now a puppy owner.
That's right. Proud Papa.
Okay,
And
and
I've
this
been wondering, like, in doing the the podcast here, if he would pop up, and we're on kind of a schedule, and it's funny because it was 3 o'clock my time when we started, and he's on the 3, 6, 9, 12 schedule, and
mm,
so that's the time he goes down for sleeping or his naps, and so on cue, he went down at like 2:45, and I thought he might wake up. He's really right just over there behind me, so we'll see if he makes an appearance. But go ahead with what your statement was.
my statement was like, okay, we got a dog,
Yeah.
got a winemaker that's got a dog. The information came to me. You said, hey, I'm going down to the blah 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 and picking up Commander.
Yes.
Very kind of this abstract kind of message. I'm like, wow, who is this? Who's this
who's
Commander
who's
guy?
the commander?
Who's Commander cutting in on my action here? What's this Commander know? And who is he?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me, was this? I know from being there with you, we have a couple of wine dogs, we'll call
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
These are
Yeah.
guys that are protecting the fields
Oh,
out
oh,
there,
those are shepherds, and Anatolian
shepherds.
shepherd, and the Great Pyrenees.
Yeah, so I have no. You've said nothing other than Commander. Okay, great, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Who's Commander, and why is he cutting in on my action with my friend now? That now you have this Mando.
Yeah.
Okay, give us a little background
Well,
story
it's
on.
when Irv Dog, as many of our friends and listeners and yourself knows, I had the most amazing golden retriever who moved around the country with me and lived to 14. And when he passed away, when Will Meyer was 1 year old, um, I had my hands full for one, but emotionally, he was such a great dog.
Mm,
It would have been very hard for me to get a new dog because
mm,
like I classically tell the story of at the time Shannon was trying to console me as I was so upset that the dog was had passed, and she was like, it's okay, we can get another one. And I was like, no, you can't. You
mm,
can't get a 14-year-old dog. I mean, you could
mm-hmm,
get a rescue dog, but I mean, I spent the previous 14 years raising this dog.
mm-hmm,
One just doesn't appear. It takes a long time of training. So I just, I had other things to do, and emotionally I couldn't do it. So I didn't get one. But of course, everyone along the way, especially Will, and especially when we want a dog, we want a dog, we want a dog. And I had toyed around with the idea, but just, I just one thing here and there and everywhere, just didn't do it. And it just has always been there.
mm-hmm,
And I, started seeing some pictures. People are always trying to influence me to get dogs, and I did start to fall in love with the Bernedoodle, half Bernese Mountain Dog, half Poodle Doodle,
mm-hmm,
and really cute ones. And we were like looking at pictures and seeing stuff around, and finally I found this one that was pretty cool, and shot Winton a picture. I was like, should we get this guy? And he was like,
mm-hmm.
get him. So he,
Great.
he he comes from Indiana, and I
Mm-hmm,
did go pick him up, and he is now on Friday. He'll be 13 weeks old. So I've had him for 3 weeks on Friday, and it's a lot of work, man. It's like
mm-hmm,
I don't like when people you compare animals to children. Like, this is my baby, and I'm a dog dad.
mm-hmm,
Not to offend anyone, but it's a way different thing. But I can tell you, in terms of like the training and having an infant and being on this 3 6 9 12 schedule, I haven't been sleeping. I mean,
sure.
I was like delirious on Saturday. I finally Sunday night got a good night's sleep, but I was like delirious from not sleeping and waking up every night. And then you're dealing with accidents, and God dang it, you
Mm-hmm,
picking up poo off the floor. It's like, ugh. But I can say that he's last several nights he's been accident free, and even during the day he hasn't had an accident inside the house. It's so serendipitous about like finding the dog at this time, and I hadn't put it together, but like there couldn't be a better time of year to have the puppy. The rains
mm-hmm,
are pretty much done. It's beautiful blue skies out. The temperature's right. He can just kind of come in and out of the greenhouse studio here into the backyard. He's coming with me into the vineyards,
mm-hmm.
coming with me into the winery. So it's a good time of year to have him and develop him up and train him so that when like harvest rolls around, it's busy time. He'll be older and more mature and can be more self-sufficient. If I try to do this training right now during harvest,
Mm.
I physically I couldn't do it. I would go crazy.
Do you take the dog with you? Like, we're going to work right now, which maybe this is even the segue to dog into work,
Yeah,
because here we are, the winemaker at this point in time at in April.
yeah.
Like, you can say what is going on, and do you take dog with you?
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect, and he's so happy because
Mm-hmm,
of course, we have a morning walk in the neighborhood, but
mm-hmm,
then we go to the vineyard, and because we have bud break, and I want to
mm-hmm,
see everything is going on. I'm inspecting our our cover crop and our mowing procedures and what we need to do. So we just go walk vineyards a couple of times a day. Whenever it's walk time,
mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, he's up. It's 9:30. Let's go for some vineyard walks, and we go walk around. He just struts along, and he picks up his own budwood and starts chomping on that and having a good time. And then go back, and he's pooped out, takes a nap, and it's noontime. All right, let's go walk another vineyard. It's three
Okay.
o'clock. Let's go walk another vineyard.
Yeah, I just thought about something.
Yeah,
I thought about, like, maybe we, as the simple humans that we are, take for granted, and until we know, we take for granted that, like, you're walking the fields,
hmm
you know what you're looking for. You're learning these things that you know after so many years, bud break and what's good, and this is going to be good. This has to go,
Looking
this or
for
that.
problems. Yeah.
All these problems that maybe that like your dog is just coming. He's a puppy. He's got to learn. Like if you're out there walking with your boys, will or when that you would say at a young age of farming, hey, look at this.
Mm-hmm.
You see this? You got this going on? Maybe this may sound funny to some people, like with even your dog, your puppy.
Mm-hmm.
You go, hey, see this? You feel this? You smell this? Because your nose is way better than ours. That they start to pick up. Maybe like the dog that can sniff out whether that be the
Yeah.
bomb or the weed,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
you know the dogs that sniff out like cancer and stuff
Yeah.
now, right?
Yeah.
Can
Yeah. Yeah.
start
Yeah.
sniffing
Yeah.
out maybe like the
Yeah.
this thing you got. I mean, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe this right here, this little row, there's something problematic here, Dad.
Well,
Right?
there's a couple things there that are interesting, which is one. I've told this story, I think, here on the podcast about the bear that used to patrol the vineyard. Sorry, I don't know what happened to my mic there.
Mm-hmm.
Something happened. Anyway, this bear that used to break into the vineyard up at Peter Michael, and he would walk. He would eat the fruit at harvest time, and he'd walk down the row, and he would pass over. There'd be a diseased vine that had something wrong with it, leaf roll or something like that. And it wasn't visual clues of the leaves, I don't think, that he was looking at. I think he could smell the fruit, and he would walk around that plant and go to the next plant and start eating again. That it's not the craziest thing in the world. I had another couple friend of mine, a husband and wife, who were grape growers and winemakers, and they were dog lovers, and they had, I think it was a bloodhound, and they were hoping to, I don't know, they moved back to Australia, so I don't know what the status is, but they were hoping to train the dog to sniff out TCA in corks, which is when we say a wine is corked and there's a
Yes.
compound that grows in the cork. And they were trying to train the dog to pick out that, which is probably pretty cool and good. This dog, I don't know. I have seen dogs respond to, like, they know what time of year it is just based on their happiness. And so,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, like he might remember next year, like, oh, I love this time of year. There's sticks all over the ground,
Right.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
I love this time of year. The cover crop's growing, and I get to run through it, and it's all tall and everything. That's fun. Or he's enjoying very much all the olives that have rotted and fallen out of the olive trees. He loves to eat rotten olives. So,
Yeah.
he is observant about what's going on around him. But I don't know that I would be able to train, especially the Bernese. That's not what really their bloodline is. To do things like that. But he certainly will become aware of the rabbits when they're around. I mean, that's especially Irvin, my old golden retriever. I mean, anything going on in the vineyard, he was just so excited about. The one thing that's maybe more important to train them about and to be aware of is, in the middle of the summer, there's oftentimes rattlesnakes all around us. So
Yes.
they want to be very aware of that. And then there's even, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to train them the difference between a rattlesnake and a gopher snake, but I want them to stay away from both. But, generally speaking, we don't love the rattlesnakes because of the danger. But two, we do like the gopher snakes because they get rid of the gophers for us. The rattlesnakes,
Yes.
they'll eat some field mice and stuff like that too. So we don't hate them. It's just you have to be very careful of them.
I'm always curious about this. I mean, I follow a lot of things that be like Georgia snake identification and certain little animal things like this. You almost said it's not crazy to think about where you were going with that. I think is to like to train or to whatever.
Train them for disease.
I think it may be almost opposite. Is that's where I started when I said we simple humans think that a lot of times we are the I know that we project ourselves as the highest people up on the pyramid
Yeah.
of that an animal, like how good that dog's nose is, and or the things that they know that we can't know. When you just said that deal about the snakes. I don't know about, I'm not so well. We can only know and read and learn what we think that we know, and certain aspects that we can test through science and this and that.
Yeah.
But what goes on in a dog's perception and or nose and or brain? Let me go off of my cats. My cats seem to know like the difference of those snakes. I have a cat here
Yeah.
that goes after snakes. She will bring in this time of year, Bob, as we going from cold to warmer. She'll bring a brown DK's snake in every single week
Yeah.
and show it off to me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I know that there are venomous snakes out there.
Sure. Georgia
Copperheads.
Yeah.
She somehow knows, not
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
human person says, hey, stay away from that one over there. That's a copperhead.
Right.
Somehow about it, she knows.
Yeah.
Right? This instinctual deal that these animals, that we have to some kind of have this respectful understanding that there are the things that they're also training us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Indigenous peoples walking behind the wolves to go, yeah, we know where we're going to find that. We're going to find the stuff that we want to hunt by following those guys.
Sure. But, all the time, I'm sure in Georgia and certainly here, our animals are often bitten by snakes.
That's true.
And what I was laughing about, like how I'm going to teach them, maybe I don't have to teach them, but for anyone's knowledge, the gopher snake looks remarkably similar to the rattlesnake. The markings on their body is very, very similar. The head is really how you identify it. I mean, the gophers can even have like false rattles, and they can look, really, really similar. So I was just laughing at like, holding two live, snakes and putting them up to his face, going, "This one bad, this one good."
Right? Treat, no treat.
I mean, Irvin, I've literally watched him up in Calistoga walk right over a rattlesnake, to the point where the rattlesnake was coiled in the sun, and Irvin were on a hike, and he walks right over it, and then the snake like pops up and starts doing its rattle, and which kind of made Irvin excited, and I'm not screaming at him, no, get away, but Irvin spent so much time, in Georgia and in California, going in places that he could easily have been bitten and never was. But I mean, our cat at the old house one time showed up with a paw the size of your head, and it looked very strange, and it had clearly been bitten by something. I don't know if it was a bee sting or a snake or whatever, but she was okay. It's life. It's nature.
Hey, it's nature. Okay, so for wines we have going on right now, Pearson Meyer wines. I know that now that we've come through the mass of picking, growing, bottling. Now we've also fermentation. Fermentation. We got everything going on. Now we also have Pearson Meyer going out there to the world. You're making trips.
Yeah. So at the winery, we'll have a May bottling coming up where we're bottling our Sauvignon Blanc, and we're also the 2023. Since you were here, you tasted the Sauvignon Blanc juice. I'm going to put that into the bottle.
Oh my gosh!
Yep. And then we have the 2022 Cabernet Sauvignon that's going to go to bottle. So a year and a half older than that. So yeah, that's it. That's coming up in May. But then now I'm out going around the country. I was there in Georgia a couple of times, and I'm coming back. I'm trying to set up a dinner down at the Cloister at Sea Island in June. But I'm out there kind of more selling 2021, right? So that's the overlap. Preparing for 24. I'm finishing up and even bottling 23 and bottling 22 and selling 21.
21. What is spectacular about 21 other than it's not 2020?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people will understand that.
Yeah.
What is great about our 2021?
A lot. It was a very good growing season. It was smaller yields. It was an earlier season because of the warmth and because of, less tons per acre. It came a little bit early, but it
Mhm.
was a very even growing season, and we had nice development of, flavor with, lack of, problems during the growing season. And I would rate it, if I don't know, you come up with a rating scale, 0 to 10 or whatever. I mean, we're talking, a 9 plus vintage in
Okay.
21,
Oh
very, very
wow.
good. 22, we did have the horrendous heat spikes, but I mean, the wines that I've personally been working with, I really like. 22 is a great vintage. 23, I'm going to give a 10.
Okay.
But 21 is exceptional, within the I mean, that's the thing about that California. It's not BS. And you hear people like, what was the greatest vintage ever? The one I'm selling, it's
Right.
like, but we have so many good growing years in California that, um, you know, 19 was exceptional. 20, we had fires. 21 was exceptional. 22, very good. 23, it's very exceptional. I mean,
Hmm.
so we're within a lot of good years. But yeah, I do like the 21s a lot.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
I look forward to tasting these.
Well, I do as well. And then, in the world of the podcast, we should, address that. We're like, we had a little bit of, I don't know if I would call it a hiatus. We're busy, Mike. I mean,
We're
from
very
from
busy.
dogs to kids at school and this, that, and the other, and that we have, actual day jobs. See,
Hmm.
our good friends at Topo Chico, or that we're such fans of,
Hmm.
we have to, we have mouths to feed, and we have, roofs to put over our head, and
Hmm.
unfortunately the podcast doesn't pay us, so we have to put other things first. But if we get a little bit of love from, our great sponsorship work we're doing for Topo Chico, come on.
Thank you. I mean,
I
we
mean,
have
come
to
on.
keep buying Topo Chico, right? I mean,
No, the
golly.
podcast is a net loss to me
Golly, what
because
a,
of the amount of money I'm spending on Topo Chico.
exactly. I know. I mean, like, it's such a weird cycle. We're propping up Topo Chico and having to go work a second job so we can
Pay for our
buy
Topo
Topo
Chico.
Chico, right?
Yeah. So
I mean,
anyway, we're going to try to get back to it, and we'll have, some of these, like our leftovers, as we call them. But, we've got some great people who are now. I mean, that's another cool thing about the podcast. We're getting people asking us if they can be on the
mhm.
podcast, and so we've got people in the wings. It's just a matter of our time and availability and, energy level and everything. But, it's super cool that you pointed out to me, Mike, the other day, that, like, even though we haven't released one in several weeks, we're still getting more and more listeners to some of our first podcasts that were out there.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the podcasting thing, is that the library is there forever.
Yes.
So
There is no, while there may be a hiatus of new content in periodic times, there is still no hiatus for new people that are coming to find the podcast
yeah,
all the time. And there's been some really great feedback with some of our guests, with with Joshua Schwartz, the chefs that we have had on there, the episode with you guys at Golden Door,
yeah, Chef Greg.
with with Chef Greg, with Dave Delgado. It's been really good that people are finding out what is going on, and maybe this is, maybe as you've been traveling the country and talking about wine as well, people are finding out what
Yeah,
is
oh yeah.
going on here on the
I
podcast.
try to
So
do
it's,
shameless plugs all the time when I'm out on the road.
yeah, I mean, so it's great that we have that going on, and really look forward to some of the new people. And do you have anyone that you can like spill some of these people that are going to be coming and joining us here soon?
We have several people, and I don't know. I don't like to say the names before we record and whatever else. I can tell you that you and I think we're texting. My good friend, former roommate, and comedian, stand-up comedian Gilbert Law, and I want to have him on the show, just out of pure love. I mean, we can talk a little bit of wine, but wine's going to come up naturally. And just like when we're talking, well, Chef Greg and I talked a lot of food and wine stuff, but when we're talking to some of the guests, it's not about the topic of wine in and of itself. It's talk about, culture and what we do. So, I think we had such a good time with Dave Willis, and he didn't really have anything to do with wine, but Gilbert's just one of the funniest people I know, and he was telling me he was out on tour or whatever. So I was like, "We'll get you on this show, and we'll promote the tour and whatever else you're doing." And so he's like, "Let's do it, sign it up." So we've got him waiting to record as soon as we can find a time. But I got some other tricks up my sleeve, and I know you do too. So
Yes.
Well, before we sign off, can I see if Mando will come on?
Let's do it. Let's see Mando.
Mando, will you come here? Are you going to wake up? Oh, there he is. Come here, buddy. Oh, he's got the best. Can you see him right there?
I can't see him yet.
Okay, look down here. Right there. Can you see him? Mando, come here. Come here. Okay, hold on. Let me get him. We got to get it on camera.
Oh, look at that puppy. Oh, man. That is a very good boy. You got to put some cans on his head. So you got to hear it too.
Say. Can you hear Mando?
Hey, Mando, he is very good. Go sniff out some good wines for us.
Look how handsome he is.
Oh my gosh. Come on, video feed for everyone to drop the check. Come and look at Mando right now.
Yeah, that's how we'll get people to get more YouTube listens.
Oh my goodness, Mando. More Mando. He's yawning.
Can you say something in the microphone? Can you lick it?
Hi, I'm Mando. Wow, that was funny. I can't believe he said that. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that, like, he has a pretty regular voice. Your animals, generally, I love them. They're nice, but, they usually have pretty bad grammar.
Well, it's funny because when I do my animal voices, people go like I'm talking baby talk, and they're like, I go, hey, he's Mando, he's very good. I see him like down and spank the hell out of him, lift his tail, spank his flank. People say, hey, why do you do that? And I said, because they spawn better when you do that. I do. I don't know what it is. They seem to respond better.
Well, they do, and it's the same thing as training him right now, and it's like. If sometimes you're stern, but if you're trying to teach them to come here, you don't go, come here, Yeah. you go, come here, baby, and he does. He's like looking up at me now, depending on how the voice that comes out of my.
Wait a minute, why did he just do that?
Yeah, exactly. Winton accuses me of being too stern with the dog.
Well, we are glad that we got to finally meet Mando.
Mando's awesome.
Our resident drop the check mascot now.
Yeah. And maybe that should be the segue, just as I dropped him on the floor, maybe he's going to drop the check. He's about to drop a deuce is what he's
okay. Well, then.
He might start his own podcast called Drop the Deuce. Oh, see, I'm delirious. I'm getting no sleep, man. No sleep. But
well, I love seeing Mando, and I love seeing you. Yep. And without further ado,
pow, drop the check.
Hey, friends, thank you so much for listening today. If you'd like to follow the progress of Bud Wood, Mando the dog, or find out more about Robbie and where he's going to be on his tastings with Pearson Meyer Wine, please follow Drop the Check on all of your podcast streaming services, or join the newsletter at PearsonMeyerWine.com. As always, Drop the Check is brought to you by Pearson Meyer Wine. Pearson Meyer, a really good wine. For Robbie Meyer and Drop the Check, I'm Mike Anderson. See you next time.